Hello everyone, I'm Brazen Eagle and thank you for joining me here. So, from the Western Journal, we have the Conservative Tribune. Federal Commission finds 42% of federal crimes committed by illegals. Well crap, that's a big percentage of federal crimes committed by one group. By Benjamin Ari, published on May 21st. Are illegal aliens just good people searching for a better life, or criminals who bring problems over the border? That question has been at the core of the immigration debate for years. As with most things, the answer is somewhere in the middle, but an eye-opening new report makes it clear that illegal immigrants commit far more crimes than many on the left would have you believe. The U.S. Sentencing Commission has released its annual report, which digs deep into federal crime data for the 2018 fiscal year. This report is a goldmine of information about offenders at the federal level, and it contains a fact that needs to be seen by every American concerned about immigration. For 2017, data from the U.S. Census Bureau's American Community Survey shows non-citizens comprise about 7% of the country's total population, but the 2018 annual report and sourcebook of federal sentencing statistics shows they committed more than 40% of all federal crimes, the American Mirror noted. Indeed, Hispanics are dramatically overrepresented in the federal sentencing data, with illegal immigration a major reason. In fiscal 2018, 54.3% of all offenders were Hispanic, 21.2% were white, 20.6% were black, and 3.8% were of another race, probably Asian. But non-U.S. citizens accounted for 42% of all federal offenders, the government reported, or the government report said. Immigration cases accounted for the largest single group of offenses in fiscal year 2018, comprising of 34.4% of all reported cases, the government document continued. Of course, a skeptic might point out that this is all by itself isn't so surprising. Illegal immigration is a federal crime and widespread, so it makes sense that aliens, many of them Hispanic, with some of them being Asian as well, but mostly Hispanic, receive a high number of federal sentences. But the numbers show deeply disturbing trends. It isn't just that aliens are being prosecuted for immigration crimes. Actually, they are also committing many other crimes at an alarming rate. Cases involving drug possession, for example, were nearly evenly split between citizens and non-citizens, with 361 and 339 respectively, the American Mirror noted. But non-citizens are only about 7% of the population. In other words, non-citizens violate federal drug possession laws at a rate roughly 7 times higher than citizens, the outlet wrote. We already know that drug crimes are common near the border, but what do the numbers say about illegal immigrants and other offenses? It's the same story. They commit crimes in numbers far above what you would expect from the population data. Statistics were similar for violations of national defense, with 30% of cases involving non-citizens, as well as money laundering at 27%, drug trafficking at 24%, and murder at 18%, the American Mirror wrote based on the government report. And even in the cases when a non-citizen's only crime was illegal immigration, it appears that a high number of them were repeat offenders. At the federal level, crossing the border illegally the first time is a misdemeanor and rarely results in jail time. It is repeatedly re-entering illegally that becomes a felony punishable by prison, which, of course, taxes or costs the American taxpayer. Yet a shockingly high number of non-citizens were also sentenced to prison, which indicates that they were either repeat offenders or committed more serious crimes while also being in the country illegally. In the vast majority of cases involving both citizens and non-citizens, 87.8% of the offenders were sentenced to prison, American Mirror wrote. For roughly 29,000 non-citizens convicted of federal crimes in the fiscal year 2018, that statistic was 98.5%, according to the report. What these numbers suggest is that conservatives have been mostly correct on the issue. Even if you set aside the immigration-only offenses, the high rate of lawlessness from non-citizens should be eye-opening. And it is legal immigrants, including Latinos, who ought to be the most frustrated by this situation. People who ignore America's laws have spiked the statistics to make Hispanics the majority of all federal criminals, tarnishing the reputation of millions of lawful immigrants who try to do the right things. Some things something needs to change. There's indeed a crisis at the border with immigration as a whole, and pretending otherwise is simply dishonest. Well then, honestly, to be completely frank with you all, this article sums it up pretty nicely. To have, over 42% of all federal crimes committed by 7% of the country's population is a failure of enforcing border security. The government and, of course, our leaders don't care about ensuring a border that is secure from criminals. Hell, if anything, businesses love illegal immigrants. They can hire them for cheaper than American workers and can overall potentially keep costs low, but that hurts your average American worker and as well as your average American. There, of course, are not enough severe consequences for those that commit crimes against the American populace, including illegal immigration. I mean, if there were enough severe consequences, you would definitely see a decrease in illegal immigration. For the fiscal year of 2018, over half of all offenders, of course, were Hispanic, 21% white, about 21% black, and 3% like I said earlier, is probably committed by Asians or those who are probably mixed-raced people. I'm not saying that all Hispanics are committing crimes, but like I said before, there's got to be severe consequences to ensure that this does not continue to happen. Now, we can get into debates about prison reform and whether we should just lock people up or rehabilitate them, but I don't think we should really rehabilitate people who are not citizens. There should be benefits to being a citizen. And if you come here illegally and you're a foreign national, even a citizen of another country, you don't deserve everything that a citizen here at home gets. Look, at the end of the day, this has got to stop. This will either stop when everyone from a third world country can come into the world, from the world into the United States, or it'll stop when someone puts their foot down. And unfortunately, we don't have leaders that will do that. But anyways, we have a second article today, and it's from Breitbart. The Department of Homeland Security is flying illegal aliens to U.S. cities, releasing them into communities. This is from May 28th, 2019 by John Binder. The Department of Homeland Security, DHS, is flying border crossers and illegal aliens into cities across the U.S. and releasing them directly into American communities, reports claim. Now, if they're releasing them only in, sanctuary cities, that might be okay. Because, you know what, at this point, burn all the cities. At least the very, very large ones. A report by the Associated Press states that aside from the DHS releasing nearly 200,000 border crossers and illegal aliens into about 4 American communities since December 2018, that at this point, that's less than 6 months ago. The agency is flying border crossers and illegal aliens into U.S. cities and releasing them. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has historically ensured that families had travel plans before releasing them, but last year it shortened custody stays in response to the growing numbers of arrivals from Mexico. They began dropping immigrants off in cities along the border at burgeoning shelters and bus stations. At the same time, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, which turns over border crossers to ICE, after arresting them, has been flying migrants to other cities for processing and is releasing them directly into communities without going through ICE, saying their own facilities are at capacity. As well as swelled in border cities, authorities have begun looking farther inland. Jesus. Similarly, a report by the New York Times detailed similar cases where DHS has started flying border crossers and illegal aliens into the interior of the U.S. before releasing them, the Times reported. Customs and Border Protection officials said they began flying migrant families from overcrowded facilities in the Rio Grande Valley in Texas to San Diego on Tuesday. It is expected that as many as 3 flights, each carrying up to 135 migrants, will be scheduled each week. The agency also recently started flying migrants 5 times each week from the Rio Grande Valley to Del Rio, Texas. Nearly all the migrants are traveling as families, including some with young children. And you know what? Guess who's paying for that? That's right, the American taxpayer. As Breitbart News has chronicled, DHS has ramped up its catch and release of thousands of border crossers and illegal aliens since the end of 2018. Between May 14th and 21st, I assume 2019, The Department of Homeland Security released about 7,900 border crossers and illegal aliens into about 5 American communities, including San Diego, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona, El Paso, Texas, and San Diego, California. The catch and release process often entails federal immigration officials busing border crossers into nearby border cities and dropping them off with the hope that they show up for their immigration and asylum hearings. The overwhelming majority of border crossers and illegal aliens are never deported from the country once they are released into the United States. Today, there are anywhere between 11 and 22 million illegal aliens living across the country. My goodness. The majority of which are concentrated in states like California, New York, Florida, Texas, and Illinois. This past week, acting DHS Secretary Kevin McAleenan admitted that the agency is merely acting as a checkpoint for border crossers and illegal aliens to make their way into the country. In congressional testimony, McAleenan said his agency is releasing 100% of adult border crossers who arrive with children at the U.S.-Mexico border and giving them work permits shortly thereafter. What? By the end of the year, the Department of Homeland Security will have released more than 445,000 border crossers and illegal aliens into American communities should catch and release continue. In addition to the projected 500,000 illegal aliens who are expected to successfully cross the U.S.-Mexico border this year, undetected by federal officials. DHS did not respond to a request for comment in time for this publication. Wow. Does this sound okay to you? How many hundreds of thousands of millions of illegal aliens within this country just being transported across it, especially on the border states, but even in places like Florida and Illinois? Is that okay with you? It's not okay with me. We have no leaders to stop this. This is literally trying to destroy the country. This is costing us millions upon billions of dollars every single year, and no one is doing anything about it. Like I said, we have no leaders that care about the average American or the common American. We, as individuals, of course, are powerless against securing the border. President Trump, despite his efforts to build a wall, has not come through. This, of course, in my opinion, is a time of choosing. We must choose to either continue allowing this to persist and let it continue to destroy our country and culture, or organize as a collective and fight back in some sort of fashion. There are, of course, groups out there that are in the shadows that want to take direct action against this continued crime. However, there is a good fear that individuals within those groups will unfortunately be doxxed and potentially threatened against other people. But, like I said before, this is only going to continue until someone puts their foot down. Someone has to be responsible for the border. At this point, trying to elect someone that will shut down illegal immigration is literally impossible. We were hoping in 2016 that maybe Trump would be able to stop most of it. Maybe you can't stop all of it, all of the illegal immigration, but at least stop most of it. But that has not happened. Both parties, both the Republicans and the Democrats, have chosen to do nothing. It is up to us, the individual Americans, to fight for ourselves and our families, because you know why? No one else will. If it was up to me, if I was leader of the country, and I had the power to enforce whatever law I needed to enforce, or to create or promote, I would give a speech in which I would give all illegal aliens 3 days leave. You have 3 days, 72 hours to leave from the time at the end of that speech to leave, and you will not be rounded up, thrown in prison, arrested, or anything like that. You had 72 hours for the illegals to leave. However, after those 72 hours are over, we would conduct a massive, an absolutely nationwide raid into getting rid of every single illegal immigrant in this country. Because you just don't know what they're going to do. I mean, I've done stories where little girls, 11-year-old girls, are getting raped by illegal immigrants. People getting killed by illegal immigrants. Sometimes even taking jobs away from your average American worker. And nothing is getting done. But you know what? With that in mind, that's all I got for you guys here today. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Brazen Eagle, and I hope you have a great day.